This is my 1990 Chevy K1500 5-speed. This originally was a 4.3 V6 pickup, but I lost compression in cylinder 6. Might have been a valve or something. Some debris got stuck in the valve, or lost a valve seat or something. And anyways, I pulled it out. I sourced out a 350. I put this one in here. Obviously you can see the TVI is no longer on here. I converted over to Holly EFI because I did some upgrades to this engine when I had it apart. It was in here originally with the TVI until it had something internal let go, shot glitter throughout the engine, so I ended up pulling it out. So this one's got upgraded pistons because we had to go 60 over on the block since it was already 40 before. And then we did Vortec 350 heads. I pulled a cam from a Vortec 350 as well to go to roller, since the cam that was in here originally was a flat tappet cam. The engine block did have the revisions for the roller lifter setup. The company that did my motor, or that tore it down for me, they sent off the cam and had some company do a grind on it. I'm not entirely sure what the specs are at the moment. Currently I do not have this running. I'm still in the process. It's been pretty cold here, so I haven't really been working on it too much, but all the accessory drive came off the 4.3 V6. The throttle body that was on here, all of it bolted on. The only things that I had to change is the fuel lines that originally came along the back of the engine that go down to the driver's frame rail. They were too short from the V6 to reach the back of the throttle body, because the throttle body moved initially a little bit forward farther from the 4.3 to be more center in the intake. But all the sensors bolted on. The only thing that I had to extend was this wire for the temp sensor that goes down in the driver's head, and then the flywheel that bolts to the back of the crank. That was the only other thing I had to change. The clutch would work, the transmission all bolted back up, and then I guess one other thing I had to source was the engine mounts here that bolt to the frame. 4.3 sat further back, so these ones use different holes in the frame. And then I upgraded and put a different radiator in here. It was bigger than what was originally in the 4.3, and then I had to source out a fan shroud. But after upgrading everything, I went to a Vortec intake manifold, and then I went and sourced out a Vortec water pump for it, a Vortec fan. I sourced out a coolant tube for a Vortec 350. There is the coolant bypass hoses that come off the water pump here and here. And I just used whatever was for the Vortec. I kind of modified the coolant bypass hose that comes off the back here. I just bought a clamp of some sort. I can't remember what they exactly call these guys, but I put that on, and then I twisted the mount right there that is molded to the tube. And all my hoses still fit from the TVI 350. And then I reused my thermostat housing from the TVI as well. Then I had our local gun shop here machine a gear for the distributor. So this is an HEI distributor instead of what was with the TBI system, due to the Sniper will not control the electronic distributor that was with this, so I opted to go to the vacuum advance, so it'll be ran off a vacuum from the Holly system. I know Holly, you can buy the electronic distributor that's along with their kit, but it was another, I think, $1,200 or so that I didn't really have money to spend at the time. Maybe down the future, if I can't get the vacuum advance system to work, maybe I'll go back and I'll purchase the rest of the kit that can go with this. Then it's got just some cheap eBay headers that I found that went directly to the factory Y pipe underneath the engine. Other than that, there's not really much that's changed from the factory pickup. I did pull the whole harness out of the cab and went through. I found a video. I'll see if I can't find it again. And there was a guy that kind of showed him chop up the harness. So they won't show it directly for a 350 or anything, but if you look up, research for a LS swap in one of these, in order to pretty much do the same as what I'm doing here with the throttle body, this is getting tied into the factory system. So some of the wires I have pulled out of the harness, again, like I said, it's just, if you're looking for information, just do it as a LS swap. That's where I found most of my information, because, you know, this is still a standalone system for the Holly Sniper systems, which is essentially what you're doing with an LS as well. And then you'll have to ignore some of the mess that's in here, but other than that, you pull this harness out behind the glove box here, and I did pull the computer off that was sitting here, but I did pull this out. I went and pulled some of the wires out of it. Not 100% sure I pulled all the right ones yet. I have a bag here of all the wires that did come out of this pickup, so that way if I do need to tie something back in, I have all the harness still sitting here, just to make sure I didn't delete something by accident. And then my gauge cluster is still the old moon gauges, so I did put some extra gauges in here. The temp one is no longer hooked up, but the oil pressure I am using, because the gauge cluster was reading, it was about 20 pounds off, so it's constantly throwing the check gauges light on all the time. But eventually down the road, at some point when I get more stuff figured out, I'm going to be putting this guy on.